Scientific literacy to India, translating chemistry into Sanskrit. So here's the literacy map of India. We can see that India is relatively on the low end of the spectrum. Unfortunately, look at the neighbors around, which are on the high end. We want to be on the higher end. Here's a literacy map of India. You can see that it's relatively illiterate, except for the west coast and the northeast. I think this is due to monsoons and the fact that the more rain causes more surplus. People have time to get educated. But this is just a percent of India as a whole. We need to look at the percent of the world, and India is not faring in that standard. The problem: science words are understandable to Europeans, thus speaking a different language, because they are not by Latin and Greek, which became a lingua franca. A computer is that which computes or thinks. A transmitter is that which transmits or carries. Electrons have to do with electricity. This is difficult for Indians where English is their second or third language, possibly. Due to this, we need to look at the benefits of coining Sanskrit words. We can expand science to the larger demographic of India and the country of Greater India, as Sanskrit words can be fit into local languages better than English words, and Sanskrit words can be understood by Indian speakers to some degree better than Latin and Greek or English-based words. There are science terms already in Sanskrit. For example, microscope is Sukshmadarshini. People have coined the Sanskrit words into science well before me. I'm just taking this further. And Sukshmadarshini, by the way, means having a small view. And a lot of this comes from the online Sanskrit dictionary. The person also has made words for chemicals and physical terms. For example, he gives carbon as Angara, meaning coal, and sodium bicarbonate as Vikshara Dvayangariya. Vikshara meaning sodium and Angariya meaning carbonate, from Angara meaning coal. So they did our work to an extent, so let's finish it. Most of the words are mine. I'll tell you if a word is from a dictionary or an online source. I'm talking about coined words. Now, the earliest in Vaiseshika and Nyaya philosophies, older than the Buddha, and then in later Hindu literature, the indivisible particle is known as Anu or Paramanu. In modern Indian languages, the same words are used for detect by Modern Indian languages use this same word for atom, so some textbooks confuse. English say Anu is molecule while Paramanu is atom. For simplicity, let's just say molecule is Ghananu, which is what the Sanskrit dictionary coins. A diatomic molecule is known as Dvianuka by the ancient and medieval literatures, and also by the ancient and medieval literatures, a triatomic molecule is Trianuka. Some texts say this Trianuka is 3 of the Dvianukas for a total of 6 atoms. The older versions and original versions say Trianuka is just 3 atoms. For general purposes, Kana will just be a particle in general. Parts of an atom. The blue represents the electron. The Sanskrit dictionary gives it as Vidyut Anu, but I don't want to say Anu as that refers to the atom or molecule. Instead, I suggest electron being translated as Vidyut Kana, meaning electric particle. The yellow represents the protons. Green is the neutrons. Neutral in Sanskrit is Tatashta. Thus, neutron is Tatashtakana. Nucleus is the center of the atom, and center in Sanskrit is Kendra. Nucleus is Kendra. Ions are charged atoms. The Sanskrit word already used by Hindi is Aveshita. Thus, ions is Aveshitakana. Matter. The 4 states of matter are solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. Now, those correspond almost coincidentally, although I think there is a connection to the classical 4 elements, or 5 if you use the Panchabhuta system. I believe that the ancient humans associated with the states of matter with comprehensible things. The tree was solid like a rock of the earth, the fruit juice was liquid like water. Thus, solid is Kshiti, liquid is Toya, gas is Anila, plasma is Tejas. These are contemporary and serve to bridge alchemy of the past with chemistry of the present. Further, there'll be better translations later. Let's coin some measurements, as we now use the metric system, and this unifies the world. Volume, ayatana, already used by Hindi. Plus, I insist, use native words than other Sanskrit words. Pressure, pidana, also use native words, not Sanskrit words. Each Indian languages has their own words that should be used, as the goal of this video is to make science more understandable to the general demographic. Mass, dravyamana, used by Hindi as measure of substance. Please use native word, by the way. This is mass, not weight. Weight is the force of gravity on an object. Gram, navamasha, literally new masha, with one masha is 0.72 grams, so I updated it. A masha is a Indian unit of mass. Kilogram, navasera. Sera is the Sanskrit form of the modern Indian word seer, which is 960 grams, so I updated it. Moles, kanamana, meaning measure of particles, as moles refer to how many particles there are, which is Avogadro's number, I think. Temperature, tapamana, literally measure of tapa, which is heat. Heat, as in the energy, is ushnata. Again, please use native words. Now, temperature is different from heat. Heat refers to the energy. Temperature is the average kinetic energy that a group of particle has. Measurements and stuff continued. Molarity, the amount of moles in a liter. This is the standard measure of concentration. Since this is the measure of how mixed, mishra in Sanskrit, a particle, kana in Sanskrit, is, the word for molarity is as by volume. Mishra kanamana. Molarity is mishra kanamana. Molarity is moles solute per kilogram. No, molality is moles solute per kilogram solvent. This is by mass, or mass of stuff. So bhuta, meaning stuff, or material stuff, or being. So pratibhuta kanamana is molality. From Sanskrit biology video, we know solute is vilina, solvent is vilayaka, as already used by Hindi. Solution is vilayana, as already used by Hindi. I forgot to mention that in the Sanskrit biology video. It's going to be mentioned here. Reactions. A reaction using the Sanskrit dictionary's pratikriya, Hindi already uses this word. The product is utpada, as used by Hindi. Half reactions is artha pratikriya, which is coined by me, as it is well known to be amla in Indian languages. Now, base is well known to be kshara in Indian languages, but since bases are bitter, and it kind of relates to amla, which actually means sour, I'll give it an epithet of katu, meaning bitter. So base is kshara or katu. Exothermic reactions is ushma kshepa. Hindi uses a variant of this. Heat is ushma and kshepa means thrown. Thus the word means releasing heat. Endothermic is ushma soshita. Ushma's heat, soshita is absorbed. Thus the word should be pushed in Indian languages today, as this is the one I made up. Suffixes. For the polyatomic ions or ions in general, we have the following suffixes: ate, ite, ide. The Sanskrit dictionary gives the following suffixes. For example, bicarbonate, as in sodium bicarbonate, is dviangariya. Notice the iya suffix. I'll adopt this as the eighth suffix, as the Sanskrit dictionary already did. The Sanskrit dictionary gives the ide suffix as aya, as chloride is given by the Sanskrit dictionary as nireya, although I will coin a different word for chlorine. So ide is aya. The ite, though the Sanskrit dictionary doesn't give this suffix, doesn't coin it as far as I've checked, I will temporarily set the ite suffix as aya. The elements. I will explore the etymology of the periodic table of elements and calculate them if I must or if I can. I will try to use cognates if possible, but I also want them to be understandable to the Indian demographic. An asterisk indicates this word is coined in existing Indian languages, or unless if it's specified. Sometimes there might not be an asterisk. The word aya is metal and will be used as a suffix for any elements coined that are metals. Let's start. Group 1 metals. the alkali metals, and hydrogen. Hydrogen meaning generating water, as you know, H2O. The cognate to hydro in Sanskrit is udra, thus rough. Generating is roughly jana, thus hydrogen is udrajana. This is already a word coined in Indian languages, already a word. Lithium, from its discovery in a rock. In Sanskrit, rock is shila, thus shilya, to give it a sense of coming from the rock. Now modified by adding the aya suffix, thus shilyaya is lithium metal. Sodium, the Sanskrit dictionary gives this as vikshara, while modified by adding the aya suffix meaning metal. The sodium metal is viksharayam. Viksharaya. Potassium, from potash, which in Sanskrit is svarji or svarjika. To make it along the lines of coming from potash, we will add the ya suffix to give svarjikya. And since potassium is a metal, we will add the word aya, as thus potassium metal is svarjikyaya. Rubidium, named for its red light in the spectrum emission. The reddish glow of the sun is aruna, which we can compare that red light of the spectrum. Thus arunaya is rubidium. Cesium, named after the sky blue light in the emission spectrum. Thus Sanskrit dictionary already coined for this word, which is dyutatu, dyu meaning sky, as in Dyauspeter, and add the suffix, we get dyutatvaya. Francium, named after France. There is also gallium, which can be derived from France. France in Sanskrit is firanga, or French in Sanskrit is firanga, from the Arabic firanj, I think. Give the word vriddhi to show derivation, we get fairangya, thus francium is fairangyaya. Group 2, the alkaline metals. Beryllium, named after beryl, a mineral from Prakrit Veluria. Its Sanskritized form is Vaidurya. The Prakrit word may be borrowed from a Javanese language, but that's a different story. The Sanskrit dictionary gives Vidura as beryllium, but I want to improve on it, so I'll give it as Viduryaya. Magnesium, mineral magnesite, is in a paper I found regarded as Kankushta, thus magnesium is Kankushtaya. Calcium, from calcite or chalk. Chalk in Sanskrit is kati, thus calcium is katiyaya. Strontium, named after a Scottish village, I'll just call it as Strontiaya, as I'm not going to calc it, as there's no equivalent for stronti. So I'm just going to borrow the sound or word directly from Scottish language or English language. Barium, named from Bhartia, barium monoxide, a mineral, which in Sanskrit is Harija, thus barium is Harijaya. Radium, this metal gives light, green light, like the radium watches. Thus, green light and ray must be made into Sanskrit. Green light ray green is Hari in Sanskrit. Rashmi is ray. This Hari Rashmi is green ray. This radium is Hari Rashmiyaya. Group 3, boron, from borax. Borax in Sanskrit is tanka. In fact, the Sanskrit dictionary gives the prefix tanka as the prefix for boron, which is boro. Thus I name boron is tankya, tankyaya. As I think boron's, I'm not sure if boron's metal. So actually, boron's a non-metal. Sorry. Aluminum, from alum, which in Sanskrit is sphati. The sphatyaya is aluminum. Gallium, firangya, and I've coined a similar word for francium, but there's not many words for France that worked its way into the Sanskrit language, so I was limited. So gallium is firangya without the vriddhi. Indium, from the indigo color in its emission spectrum. Indigo, a shade of blue, would be nila in Sanskrit. That's the word. Well, actually, we need to coin the word for light because it's a light emission spectrum. The Sanskrit word for light is also ba. So indium is, so in Indian languages it would be nilabaya. Thallium, from talos, meaning green shoot or twig. Green is hari. It's called green shoot. It's talos means green shoot or twig, referring to the green color of the spectrum. Green is hari in Sanskrit. Thus haribaya is thallium. Group 4. Carbon, from Latin carbo meaning coal, thus in Sanskrit angara. This in Sanskrit dictionary already gave carbon as angara. Thus carbon is angara. Silicon. The atom in silicon dioxide, the main component of sand. Thus we need a word meaning sand. Sand in Sanskrit is sikata. While the Sanskrit dictionary coined silicon as saikatya, I will continue using with this word. So silicon is saikatiya. Germanium, Germaniaya. I don't have a word in Sanskrit for Germany the way we had for France. Tin, this is easy. Tin in Sanskrit is trapu. Lead, also easy. Lead in Sanskrit is sisa. Group 5. Nitrogen, meaning generating niter. Niter in Sanskrit is sora or soraka. Thus, nitrogen is sorajana. Phosphorus, name for its glowing when it was extracted in the original way. It was an interesting story. The word phos in Greek is meaning shining and is related to the Sanskrit word ba. Thus, I found the Sanskrit word basvara, which means shining, and it kind of sounds like phosphorus. Basvara, phosphorus. And this word is given in a Hindi translation in Google Translate. Thus, phosphorus is basvara. Arsenic. Red arsenic. Arsenic bonded to sulfur in Sanskrit is naipali. Thus, arsenic is naipaliya in Sanskrit. Antimony in Sanskrit is anjana. This is black antimony according to a paragraph from Wisdom Library. Bismuth, chapala, is given as bismuth, though it may as well be selenium. Need to wait for further information, frankly. Group 6. Though some give it as amlajana, I think the Sanskrit dictionary has a derivative amla or tigshna, meaning sharp or sour, as oxygen is the oxy in oxygen means sharp and refers to acid. I want to use a new word for oxygen. Oxygen is the vital gas for the breath of life. Well, for most of life that we see, most of visible life, and thus prana. To be consistent with the word for hydrogen and nitrogen, we will call oxygen as pranajana, and for colloquial use, we will call it pranavayu. Sulfur. Sulfur in Sanskrit is gandhaka. Selenium. Selenium, from Greek Selene, the goddess of the moon. We have in Hinduism the god of the moon, a god of a moon, Chandra. So Chandra Tulya, because apparently selenium was named after the moon, though there's little connection with the moon. Tellurium, like selenium, is just named after the earth with little connection. So Kshasahita with two question marks. Group 7. These are halogens, Lavanajana. Fluorine, from fluorite, a mineral. Fluorite in Sanskrit is Vaikrantya, although it's tending to refer to tourmaline, though albite is a tourmaline with fluorine in it. So I'll just say fluorine is Vaikrantya. Chlorine, named because it's a green gas. Green in Sanskrit is Harita or Harina, but Harita just is more Harina means deer and refers to its tawny color, which is a yellow. I wanted green, so Harita will be just the green. And Harita is actually kind of cognate to Greek chloro, from which we get chlorine. So chlorine in Sanskrit is Harita. Or Krypton. Bromine, named for its stinky smell. Stinky in Sanskrit is Puta. Brown in Sanskrit is Kapila, because bromine is brown. I just wanted to increase syllable count, so bromine is Kapila Puta. Unless we can get a better translation. Iodine, as it's purple, from which the element gets its name, because its vapor is purple. Purple in Sanskrit is difficult to translate, but the modern dictionary gives it as Dhumra as an approximation. This iodine is Dhumra in Sanskrit. Group 8 is our noble gases. They do not react, with the exception of xenon. There are some noble gas products, but in general, noble gases have a complete outer shell and they do not react. Helium, named for its presence in the sun, thus anything related to the sun in Sanskrit is Saurya, thus helium is Saurya. Krypton, meaning hidden, Sanskrit dictionary gives Krypton as Linati, I translated as Niguda, and I will modify it to be Nigudi. Perhaps both Linati and Nigudi are acceptable. You have to choose. Xenon, from Greek meaning xenos, meaning foreigner or stranger. The word I chose is vilaksha, meaning strange. Xenon is strange as while it is a noble gas and usually behaves like one, it's been known to form molecules such as xenon tetrafluoride. Radon, as it's derived from radium, so I must derive the word from such. As it's born from radium, it's harirashmyayaja. Ja meaning the born from suffix. So harirashmyayaja is radium. Harirashmyayaja is radon gas. Now transition metals, I'm going to name a few in my part 2. But for our purposes, here's the general transition metals. Some iron is loha, which used to mean copper. Copper now is tamra. Gold is svarna. Silver is rajata. Zinc is kupyatu. Electricity. Oxidation is loss of electrons, reduction is gain. Ironically, I want to avoid the mistake in translating into Indian languages. Oxidation, to lose, is hani. Oxidation is vidyudhani, thus. Reduction, to obtain, is prapta. Thus reduction is vidyut prapta. Gaining. So, literally, vidyudhani means to electron loss or electron losing, and thus is oxidation. Vidyut prapta means electricity gaining or electron gaining, which is what reduction is. That's it for now. A lot of these words have been coined, but some have... A lot of these words already are coined, but some have been just coined by me. A lot, actually, have been coined by me, and some words coined by me are temporary until I can find better translation. I'll conclude the video with this. Vidya Viveka Tattva. Citations, crude citations.